Hi everyone, now we've had a bit of a break, but now I'm back and I'm very keen to get on with lots more videos on the British Constitution, busting more royal myths and talking about the democratic alternative to the monarchy. Now, you may have noticed I've been playing around with the format of these videos since I started earlier this year. Also been looking at other YouTube videos and seeing how other people do it. I said back then I'd be responding to your comments, and I started to do that as part of each video that I was making, but I've decided instead to do a separate series of videos called Responding to Your Comments. It just keeps everything a little bit neater and shorter. So keep commenting, asking questions, challenging what we're saying if you want to. I'll pick up on the best and most interesting points and comments and get back to you on one of these videos. So right now, let's look and see what you've been saying in the response to the videos we've put up so far. So Darren Ross commented a few weeks ago. Now, Darren said, "It's irrelevant to me whether they are profitable or not. Monarchy has no place in a fair society. I understand why Republicans want to debate the money issue, but I think it distracts from the core issues of privilege, hereditary titles, and inequality. How do you explain to a kid, yes, you can be an astronaut, prime minister, etc., but you can't be a royal? They're very special." Now, I completely agree with this. I think that the money issue is an issue, but it is not the issue, and it certainly isn't the motivation for wanting to get rid of the monarchy. The point there you've made about fairness and equality, and the fact that you can't sit down with your kids and say, look, there are no limits on your ambitions. You can be whatever you want to be. You can reach for the stars, whether literally as an astronaut or figuratively as head of state of your country. That is pretty important, and that is quite fundamental. But it's a fundamental part of what we believe. It's not the only argument, and I think we need to make sure that we cover all our bases and make all the arguments. There's no good argument for the monarchy. There are lots of good arguments for getting rid of it, and the money does come up as an abuse of money, and also claims from the other side that it's good value for money. So those things are necessary. But I agree that the debate needs to be focused on issues of equality as well as political reform. Beastie Boy said, "I have no time for royalty myself, but feel most people couldn't give a toss one way or the other. They are too busy getting on with their lives rather than bothering with this." Now, this is an important point. I think that polling shows that it's not 75% or 80% of the population excited by, enthusiastic about the monarchy. It just isn't. I mean, the polling shows that most people don't actually care that much. Now, that creates a challenge for us as well as the monarchy. The monarchy is constantly trying to get people to care, constantly trying to get people to take notice. Right the way through the lockdown, they were struggling, not being able to visit places around the country, trying to find ways to make themselves relevant. Now, for those of us who want to get rid of the monarchy, we need to make the case that not only is this a problem, but it's a problem that needs to be resolved, and that there is a simple solution. A lot of people just don't care one way or the other, and so they aren't going to be motivated to even take a view, let alone support our side. So there is a job to do there to get people to think more critically about the monarchy and to see what the problem is and to prioritise it as something which needs to be fixed. Jeff Hardacre just says, "It's Tommy Muscatello from upstate New York." Now, Jeff is responding to a video that I put up. It's an Economist video where myself and a man called, or who calls himself Thomas Mace Archer Mills, Esquire, we debate the monarchy for a few minutes on their video, and Thomas J. Mace Archer Mills was doing the rounds at the time of the Harry-Meghan wedding and lots of previous events as well as a royal expert. He has a very plummy English voice, but he was caught out a couple of years ago as being Tommy Muscatello from New York.
Tommy Muscatello from New York!
A 38-year-old American from upstate New York.
If you want to find out more about this rather odd tale, Google John Oliver and Tommy Muscatello, and you'll see John Oliver explaining exactly how Tommy Muscatello became Thomas J. Archer Mills Mace, or whatever his name is. So somebody called CD. Hi Graham, do you believe that the head of government should also hold the office of head of state, or should they be held by two separate elected individuals? So this comes down to what sort of republic we are arguing for. And Republicans always believed in a parliamentary system with a prime minister as head of government and a head of state who is separate from the prime minister, who has a limited constitutional role. And this is very similar to a lot of European republics, and of course this is more or less what we have now. But the head of state, as in the form of the Queen, is pointless and is only there to do what the prime minister tells her. So it's more or less the prime minister acting as head of state as well as head of government, but by proxy through the Queen. What we're saying is separate those two out properly, have an independent elected head of state who can represent the country and perform certain limited constitutional functions. And the best example is Ireland. The president can refuse to sign a bill into law passed by Parliament if they think it contradicts the Constitution, and there are ways of resolving that difference of opinion between Parliament and President. There are examples such as Germany, for example, not directly elected, but a similar role to that of the Irish head of state. And there are sort of versions of where, to a greater or lesser extent, the head of state has some power. We don't really want to go down the route of the French model, where the president has a lot more political power. It's a very political office, and they also have a French prime minister. That's not something which we really have looked at. Polling that has been done in the past has sort of suggested that people, if they're going to support a republic, would more likely support a Westminster-style system. I think there's also a lot of unease about the idea of supporting a US presidential system as well. So, we're not talking about turfing out the entire Constitution and starting again as in the US. We're talking about developing the Westminster model and having those two separate roles, and also having the two houses of Parliament. The House of Commons replace the Lords with an elected upper house, and then having a written constitution that explains how all that works and how you can change how it works if the citizens want to. So hopefully that answers that, probably more than you asked. Stephanie Buckley. If we took back what is rightfully ours, then turn them into tourist attractions, etc., then wouldn't that still be the taxpayer who pays for the upkeep? So I think this is to do with the buildings and the various homes and palaces that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago. Stephanie says, you also mentioned poverty and the likes, which is something that needs to be sorted out sooner rather than later. I completely agree on that point. My question is, hypothetically, if we did take it back, how much could it help poverty and families that really need it? Well, I think there's 2 points there. In terms of the tourist attractions, yes, we would still need to pay for the upkeep, but that should be funded through ticket sales, events, and so on, as any other tourist attraction is. Now, if you look at the Tower of London, they do raise money through ticket sales and events, corporate events or whatever, which pays for the upkeep of the Tower of London. So most venues should be able to do that. You're not quite sure how to pronounce this. Your Mamacita. Now, I know you've commented a few times on this. At Republic Campaign, why wouldn't a 100,000 signature petition get a chance for a referendum discussion in Parliament? Also, what action are you taking apart from asking for 12k? That's the reference to our appeal that we're running. By the way, if you're really serious about a referendum and government refuse, isn't that what you should be prepared or preparing for? Now, this is a reference to an earlier comment by your Mamacita. I hope that's not a... I don't know what that means. But suggesting that we do a parliamentary petition. Now, the rule with the parliamentary petitions, if you collect over 100,000 signatures, then it gets put onto the schedule for debate in the House of Commons. Now, the details of that are actually a little bit more complicated. The point here really is that even if we got a debate in the main chamber of the House of Commons, with all the MPs turning up and talking about it, yes, that would be fantastic if that happened, but it still wouldn't get us the referendum because it doesn't change the political balance of the House of Commons. And the House of Commons is by and large controlled by the government. And the government is by and large controlled by the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister doesn't want a referendum and is not interested in having that debate. It's simply not going to happen. So our biggest focus is on raising awareness through the media, and raising awareness throughout the wider population. And these videos are part of that. This is action that we take, is getting out there on social media and on YouTube and through podcasts, as well as doing events around the country and so on. And we have done over the years a number of protests, photo opportunities, media stories. We've broken stories using freedom of information. And yes, we do also lobby Parliament, and we've done petitions, not on the parliamentary website, but on our own website, which have had tens of thousands of people petitioning on very specific points, such as the cost of royal weddings, for example. And we're going to do more of that. But that is all about getting the debate going in the media, through social media, raising the profile of the issue. And then at some point, it will be possible to get MPs to debate it, not in a side chamber, but in the main chamber of the House of Commons, with the support of the leadership of at least one of the parties, with a serious view to getting that referendum up. And that is absolutely our focus, is to build support, political support and public support, so we can get that referendum and then move on, hopefully, and then win that referendum. Neville Robinson, a similar sort of vein. Now, we get this quite a bit. As a member of Republic, it seems to me we do a lot of talking and very little doing, which includes answering emails. Sorry about that if we've not answered your email. We're a fairly small organisation. We do rely on volunteers at the moment to manage our inquiries emails, but we are trying to get on top of that. This year, particularly with the lockdown and COVID and all the rest of it, we've done less actual action and media work. It's been more to do with getting debates out through social media and so on, but we do a number of different actions, as I was saying in response to the last comment. So it may be a protest or a photo opportunity outside Buckingham Palace. It may be letters to MPs. We often get our members to write to their MPs. That has been successful in the past in raising issues in Parliament. When Nick Clegg was introducing changes to the Succession Act, MPs commented in the chamber. I remember Richard Drax, I think it was a Tory arch-monarchist, complaining that he'd had lots of Republicans writing to him about this change in the Succession Act, saying, this is a dangerous move because it opens up a can of worms. We got lots of people writing to their MP saying, contact Margaret Hodge a few years ago to include the Duchy of Cornwall in her committee's investigation into avoidance of corporation tax, capital gains tax, and that sort of thing. And that was successful. Margaret Hodge did then take that on and investigate and called in the Duchy's managers to answer questions about why they don't pay tax. So there's a lot we do, and there's a lot more that we're going to be doing. Everything's been a little bit disrupted by COVID and lockdown and so on, but there are plenty of plans coming up, including more petitions. So keep those comments and questions coming, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, want to pick up on something I've said, want to ask us a question about some of the issues or what Republic is doing and so on. Just stick it in the comments or email YouTube at republic.org.uk, and we will try and pick those up as often as we can and stick one of these videos on the channel to respond to what you've said. We try and get into the comments and actually write responses as and when, but on the whole, we'll try and do that through here so everyone can sort of catch up with what's being talked about. Okay, thanks very much. See you next time.